We're live. So, welcome to Near Nirvana, a new addition to Friday night. It's Witching Hour, which is a show that I kind of started like a few years ago on my channel, but we're moving it to Near Nirvana, and having more people in tonight's show. It's about we are sharing our ghostly experience. No, is it what's it? It's not ghostly. It's a
paranormal
paranormal. Yes,
experience,
experience. Yes,
a reckoning.
right. So we all have that. I feel like everybody in our life, whether you believe it or not, you always have something that it makes you kind of wonder or second guess yourself about things. And I feel like I feel like I have been around it, like growing up with watching just by watching scary movies to some crazy experiences. And I know other people have them too. So I like to share mine and I want to hear everybody else's too. So for the next 5 Fridays, spooky season, we will be coming on every Friday to sharing some crazy stories. And tonight I want to introduce my guest, my co-host Heather.
Hi.
And Josh, which
What
you
up?
guys probably know already, and Steve.
What's going on, guys?
And JoJo. And got Leo, yay. And then Sheena. But so okay, we're gonna start Josh, if you want to start. I know you said you had a story and I'm like so intrigued.
Oh, you want me to start? Okay.
Yes,
All right,
let's start
go.
with you, and then
Where's my blanket?
Heather and Steve and JoJo, if you guys have any stories, and then we'll go from there. But we can start like that.
Oh,
Okay.
snap.
All right. So this was in June of 2008, and I was my first trip to Texas. I went with one of my buddies, and we were going to visit one of his friends that lived down there. And his grandparents had like a summer house also in Texas, which I thought was kind of weird. And they weren't there, and they wanted to go spend the weekend there. So we go to this house, and I wish I could remember where it was in Texas. It was a tiny town. It was a dry town, and that was the first time in my life I had ever experienced a dry town. And I thought that was crazy. So we turned down this little side road, and it's like this little dirt road, and it's just completely like full of trees on either side. It's completely dark outside. It looks like something you'd see in like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I'm like freaking out, and I'm like, man, we're in the middle of nowhere. Like, I don't know where we are. And we pass their house, the grandparents' house. And I don't know if anyone in here has ever seen the movie The Strangers.
Oh yeah.
And that came out the month before we went to Texas, and that house looked exactly like the house from The Strangers. And I'm like, we're all gonna die. Like, this is beyond creepy. And so the friend's aunt lived a little bit farther down the street, and she actually took care of that house when his grandparents weren't there. So we went to his aunt's house to say hi, and they had like a little dirt bike that they wanted to pick up and bring back, so we had it for tomorrow to ride around. So we get to this house, and it's like totally this old creepy like Texas house. I don't know how to really describe it, with like the creepy trees all around it, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's a noose hanging off the porch of this house. Like total, like I'm in Texas right now. So we get out of the car. Aunt was super nice. We're all standing on the porch. The front porch, like, went the whole length of the front of the house. So we're all standing on this porch by this noose, and everyone's like sticking their head in it, take a picture. And yeah, I'm standing there. So like if I'm standing on the porch, looking straight ahead out into the yard, there was this big, like, creepy tree that, like, the branches were all, like, just hanging down, and all the way to the right side on the porch is where, uh, this guy was, and they were trying to fix this dirt bike that was right over there, and they had to pump air in the tires, and, so there was a car there too, and I'm standing there, and I'm just staring at this tree, and my buddy that I went there with was standing right next to me, and like all of a sudden I got like the chills, and like my hair started standing up on like my arms and like the back of my neck, and I was like, what is about to happen right now? I'm like, something's going on, and all of a sudden I saw this little girl run out from behind this tree.
Oh no.
And yeah, so it was really weird. Like, I was never one that believed in ghosts or anything like that, and like seeing this was crazy. So she was wearing blue. She was probably like, it was like a blue dress. She was maybe like 8, 9 years old, and she was like, she had like this blue glow like around her. I don't know how to describe it. Like, there's people that say like they see like different color orbs, but this was like a full on like girl that was like glowing blue. And I watched her, and she like poked out from around the tree, and I'm just standing there like, and she ran across the yard, and she ran over to where the guys were with the dirt bike, like behind this car. And I just watch her run across the yard, and she goes behind the car, and I can't see her anymore. And I stood there, and I just stared for like 3-4 minutes. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to go over there. And like my buddy finally notices, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Did you not just see that?" And he's like, "See what?" And I'm like, "There's this little ghost girl that just ran across the yard, dude." Like, look at my arms. Like, you could see like the hair standing up. And so he's laughing at me, and he's like, "Oh yeah, whatever, dude." Like, I was completely sober again. It was a dry town. Like, there was nothing. So we go inside, and we're all just hanging out, and we're talking, and his aunt's hanging out, and they're all laughing at me, and the aunt's like, what is going on? And my friend's like, "Oh, this idiot thinks he saw a ghost when we were just outside." And and there was no edibles involved. There was nothing. I was completely sober. I swear. So when my friend says that, the aunt gets like super serious, and she's like, "What did you see?" And I'm like, "I saw a little girl." I'm like, "I was outside, and I'm like, there's that tree right there." And I'm like, "I saw a little girl in a dress, and she poked out from around the tree and ran across your yard and went over to the side of your house." And she's like, she tells this story, and apparently there used to be another house on that property, and it was used, I can't remember what she said, like a post office or something back in like the day during a war. And then it got turned into a house, but it had been torn down. But when the house was still there, she used to rent it out. And she said that the one day she had a mom and a little girl there that were looking at renting this house. And like the mom and her were off in another room talking, and all of a sudden this little girl started screaming. So they like ran into the kitchen to see why she was screaming. And the little girl was like standing in the corner of the kitchen, pointing at the other corner of the kitchen, and was like, there's a dead girl over there. Like, there's a little dead girl over there." And, so she's like, "That might be what you saw." And she's like, "If that's what you saw, that's crazy." Because she's like, no one else has ever, like, that's the only time anyone's ever said about seeing her. Like, so it was crazy. Like, I know it sounds like so unbelievable, but like I
believe it.
I seriously did not believe in ghosts. That's the one and only time I've ever had an experience like that. And after that happened, I was like, I can't explain it. And I saw what I saw, and
you saw her on the anniversary that she passed away.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Dude, and so you were maybe like somebody special that she felt like that she could come out to.
Yeah, that's what the aunt said. She was like, "Oh, you must be really special for her to show herself to you, because that hasn't been a thing in like a long time." And I was like, "Oh, great!" Like,
how did you react?
Never saw her before?
No.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
No.
How did you react when she told you that whole story? Like, I would have freaked out.
I remember I looked at my buddy who was sitting next to me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, idiot saw the ghost outside, right? Yeah." So like,
oh no,
it was scary, but at the same time, like, it didn't scare me because it was a little like, I mean, it was just some innocent little
It
looking.
didn't feel like malicious or anything. Huh?
No, it was
That's
just
good.
some like
That's
little
good.
girl in a dress, and like I said, she had like this blue glow around her, and like,
That's
so I
awesome.
mean, it was scary, but it wasn't scary. It was just.
So the moment you saw her, you knew like this is not real. This is a ghost. This is something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, it was crazy. I've never seen anything. I've never seen anything like that. Like, it was really weird because you could tell that it was a girl, and that she was like 8, 9 years old, and like I said, I could see the blue dress that she was wearing, plain as day, and
Did she say anything?
No, she didn't say anything. We were probably like, from where I was on the porch to where this tree was probably a good 20, 25 feet.
Oh, okay.
So like, we weren't like next to each other. So she was like over there, but I could still like clearly see her, and it was like, it was crazy. I've never seen a ghost, so it's weird when you try and explain that, but it was just someone that was like glowing, and they just they like kind of looked, and then they just ran across the yard, and then they disappeared, and I was like, okay, that was that.
Did you sleep that night?
No, actually, because the house that we stayed in, the stranger's house, was also really old and creepy, and there was like no beds for like everyone to sleep on, so I was sleeping on the floor. And the house also had an ant problem, so then we all woke up with ants all over us. So no.
What town was this again?
I wish I could remember, because
oh my god,
it was obviously some tiny town, because it was a dry town. Like, again, that I had never. I was like, what do you mean it's a dry town? And they're like, oh, you can't get alcohol anywhere here. And I'm like, where are we right now? Like,
that is so. Let's see, like H&H had a little story here. Was 5 years old, saw my neighbor's cat at the bottom of the stairs in my house at bedtime. Told my parents. They looked around a bit and said it's impossible because she had died earlier this week. I think
Fuzzy?
Right. Dude, I think kids, it scares me the most. I think, like, if anything goes, like, and it just takes me at more than it's like so sad and everything, because, and I believe about that little girl, and especially you never seen anything, because that has happened to my family members. And I have nightmares where this little girl used to come up with. They used to appear. I always kind of dream back that I'm back in that place, and it scares me. So that's what I believe this stuff. That is just
kids for sure. Not to like take up more time, but when I was in middle school, I had a buddy named Ray, and he had a little brother that was maybe like 4 years old, and their house, I grew up in a small town, and their house was actually the hospital in that town, like back in the day.
Oh shit!
And
it's already right.
It was, dude. It was.
Steve's like, oh hell no.
There ain't no bedtime in that household.
No, I would have the hardest time falling asleep, and it was so scary. And we never went in the basement, because I guess the basement was still like, there was weird stuff down there, and like jars of stuff. But his little brother, I remember one time we were playing hide and go seek outside, and his little brother comes up to me, And he's like, hey, can I be on your team? And I'm like, yeah, sure, dude. Like, whatever, let's go. And he's like, can Dr. Corey be on our team too? And I'm like, I'm like, who's Dr. Corey? And he's like, he's Dr. Corey. He's my friend. And I'm like, where's Dr. Corey? And he's like, he's right here. And I'm like,
he's right behind you with a meat cleaver.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, Dr. Corey can be on our team too, because I don't want to die. So like he used to see stuff like that. So
dude, I wonder if he kept seeing things like that, or like, like I just sent you guys, like I'll have to send it to you, Josh. This guy Kiki became a medium because he started seeing things since he was little. And he was saying that he has worked for the FBI now. And that this famous case of this girl that his fiance killed her, like he was like, you're not, what did he say? It's not a search and rescue, it's a search and retrieve or something like that. And then they were like, oh, kind of like, but I didn't know that kind of when the FBI and things like that, when they don't have, they're kind of like hit a wall, they kind of do go to people like that they can trust, which is fucking crazy. It's
right.
Wow, dang, that was really good, Josh.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Started off with the bang.
I know. How do I follow up with that?
I didn't even think about the little kid thing until she brought that up, and I was like, "Oh man, I have the perfect story for that." Like,
that was so good. Oh my god, Heather, you ready?
I'm not ready. Okay. I gotta go though. Okay, well, I've never personally experienced any paranormal activities. I always wanted to, but then I always don't, because I'm like, what if it just sticks around? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's a little creepy, but actually, my husband's family, his grandpa, they lived in an old house in Coachella, and he would like wake up at the middle of the night, and he would like walk to the hallway, and he would turn, and then he would see this figure, and then when he would like stare at the figure, like he can see the image of his like dad just like looking at him. And he was the only person in the house to be able to see, I guess, like his dad in the house, just like roaming around like the house. But he was the only one. Nobody else ever like saw it. But they thought that the figure was gonna follow them when he like moved out of the house. But no, it just, I guess, stayed there or something like that. But it seemed like the figure never tried to do any harm either, though. So that's the only like thing, like story that I have. But I've never experiered it. I want to, but then I don't. I'm like tiptoe.
I'm kind of. I guess I'm kind of in that. Like, I've been around to things that has happened and didn't realize that it was not natural till later. Then it was like, oh, that's not normal. Oh my god, Jojo, do you have any?
Oh yeah. So I feel I have a few stories because I never had this like verified or checked out or anything like that by any like ghost hunters or anything, but I'm pretty damn sure my old house was haunted because I experienced several different things there. But and so did my mom and my sister when we were living there separately, and like we were experiencing things and we didn't say anything because we were just like, that's weird. We kind of try to brush it off, and then one day I was like, I'm just going to tell my sister. And I told her, and she was like, oh no, I've been like experiencing some things too that I just haven't mentioned either. So it was this whole thing. But since this show's going to, continue for a few weeks, I won't just say all the stories. I'll just tell you what. And this one's kind of twofold, but I guess going along with the kids theme here.
Oh shit.
Yeah. There were, I want to say like 2 weeks in a row, I kept waking up in the middle of the night to like, not every day, maybe like every other day, every 2-3 days. I kept waking up to like the sound of like little kids like playing outside.
Oh,
and
no.
and yeah, my room was like the window faced, the driveway and the street, and the yard and everything. So like the first time it happened that I heard it, I was like, that's weird. It kind of was like, oh, that's weird that kids are playing out there right now. And I was a kid myself. I was probably about 12 or 13, but it sounded like younger kids, like 5 or 6-year-olds.
Oh my God.
And sounded like they were having a grand old time outside. But I was like, what? But then it clicked to me, like, why would they be out there in the middle of the night though? Right. So I got up and I looked outside for a good while. I was like,
waiting,
and I didn't hear it. And I was waiting to hear it again. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything anymore. And I'm like, okay, weird, right? But it continuously happened for the following couple of days. And I, the first few times was like, okay, maybe I'm just like dreaming, and then I wake up and then like it's back to normal. I don't know, because like I was half asleep, right? Like maybe it's that, but it's just so odd that it only happened during those weeks. And I mean, other things happened later on in that house that were, I think, related to that, but with this incident, it was just like odd. And then there was one time too where I remember this was after school, right around the same time too.
Oh my, sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. Go ahead.
We need a shirt with this. Girls just want to have fun. That's perfect.
I mean,
just want to live their afterlife.
They do. I wasn't trying to get in the way, but it did freak me out a little bit. But they were, so I was doing my homework. I was reading, sitting on the couch, and my sister and my dad had just left, like, I want to say like an hour prior to that. My sister had softball practice, so they both, and he would like coach her too. So they both left, and I was home alone. And I remember thinking, like,
wait, Jojo, and you're from out here, right? You're from El Centro, right?
Yeah.
Was this out here in the Centro? So okay.
Yeah.
So where Jojo's at, me and Heather are at, it's like the kind of like the Coachella Valley area. Old Mexico.
Right?
It's all Mexico. Old Mexico.
Yeah.
It used to be
a lot
Mexico.
of agriculture where I'm from too. Is like,
here
I lived. Yeah, that house was built near like fields, and then there's like a canal that was running through the back. So there's a lot of weird things related to that. But so back to the story. So as I was, reading, so the way that my house was situated was like the living room, and then I was sitting here on the couch, and straight ahead was a staircase. So I was just there, and then through my peripheral, I see something like just quickly run across the stairway. And I look up, and I was like, oh, it's probably Adi, my sister. And then it hit me like, wait, no, she's gone. She and my dad left earlier. So what the heck was that? And so, it was, and it just, because before that, I didn't have any like ghostly experiences in that house besides the kids in the middle of the night. So, so I was like, maybe like there's these little kids that, are just like haunting this house or this area, and they like run around. I really felt that they were just kind of like these hyper little kids running around. That's how it felt like. And I didn't feel anything negative from those spirits, whatever you want to call them, but there were other entities there, if you want to call them that, that I did feel that were not so great. But we'll go into that some other week.
Did you ever look up like the history of the house, or
I
because the
didn't, but I'm
canal and all
very
that?
tempted
Like,
to. I'm
You
yeah,
very tempted
should. You
to. Yeah.
should,
I'm
Jacob.
sure if I like went to the library or some like older buildings out there, I could figure something out.
See, and why I mentioned that, this was all Mexico. Like I mentioned it because, like, it was like native, land. All this, a lot of the here is Native American. They're owned by them, the land here. So, and it's during the whole battles, Mexico, United States, all that stuff. Like, imagine how many people like died and they were like bodies buried everywhere. You never know. It doesn't matter like how they built, cities and all this.
Energy still resides where it resides.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I mentioned this is all Mexico. Like, it's been, like, this has been here forever.
They're still claiming the set.
Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, Jojo, look into it. Maybe next time, like, we'll have like some stuff for us. Well, that's really, I love this. See, okay, I want to read this real quick. Okay, H&H, you're gonna need to come and join us too next time. You have good stories too. I had a coworker whose twin brothers had asthma. He knew one was coming because he will see ghostly form, spirit demon, flying to his brother's seconds before an attack. That is freaking wild. That is crazy.
Yeah.
It means art built. But yeah, like, that's crazy. It's Steve. What about you?
Oh man. Okay.
I know you have some good stories because you've been on the show before too.
Yeah. So it's my cousin Roseanne. She, Lucy knows her. Has talked with her. She's done a lot of things when she was younger, and I think she like has something that always follows her because every place she ever has like rented or like has kind of resided in, there's been like just paranormal stuff that is kind of followed. I've had a couple of experiences with in the different houses that she's been at. This one I haven't told you though, Lucy, but it was another condo like in the same town that she lives in. She lives in Camarillo. Camarillo is kind of like an agriculture area. And they have sticks all the way down. Like there's just roads, endless roads. There's like hotels that were converted into like condominiums where people died in. There used to be like prostitutes and drug dealers. So it has like a really rich history where the town that she's at, as well as in like Oxnard and Port Hueneme. There's a airfield that's there as well. And there's been things like that have shot out like and been tracked and everything like that. I remember coming home with my cousin one night and we both called each other and we're like, did you see that? But this house that she lived in, it was like more in the center of town. It was like a condo area. And she calls me over and I always like joke with her because I'm just like, every time I go somewhere with you, like, or if I'm staying the night at your house, it's like I fear for my life because this thing always just latches on to me or it scares the shit out of me or whatever collateral damage you've done, it just like it eagerly waits for me to come up. It's good. So she gets into this condo and this is like after she has her first son. His name is Jordan. He's already like at 4 or 5 and she calls me over. This is like the first time like she's called me to come over and like I it just didn't even slip my mind to ask her, hey, like, is this place scary? One time, the prior place that she was at before, I had my first scary experience. I've had like 3 or 4 with her. So we go in and she's like, hey, do you think you can watch Jordan? We'll be out, but we're not coming back till later. And she's like, do you think you could stay here and we'll come back? You could stay the night. I'm like, sure. Didn't even think twice. And I'm in the front room, like downstairs, watching whatever the hell I'm watching, and I can hear my, like like second cousin, her son running around. I'm like, okay, he's having a good time in his room. I'm gonna check on him, and because it got quiet, and so like I'm walking upstairs, and I'm like kind of like tiptoeing down the hall to look at what he's doing, and I'm like struck at the door, like I'm like, what is he doing? And he's like sitting like crisscross applesauce towards the wall, kind of having a conversation. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I was like, Jordan. And he's like, doesn't respond to me. He's just quiet. And I'm like, Jordan. And he's like sitting there quiet. And I like get in front, I grab his like shoulder. I'm like, Jordan. And he like jumps. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. He's like, I was just talking to my friend. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm sitting there. I was like, what's your friend's name? And he was like, oh, we used to live here. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay. So I get him up. I'm like, let's get up. Let's kind of walk downstairs. And as like I'm walking him downstairs, I'm asking him questions. I'm trying to get more information. I'm texting like my cousin Roseanne. I'm like, where the hell are you at? Like, you got to get here. Like, this is the second time this is happening.
You need to move, dude.
Yeah.
They needed to get a clean and up in there.
Yeah, limpiado and everything, man. And she does sage. She sages the house and everything like that.
Oh no.
But it's still whatever she did when she was younger. She played with a Ouija board and never like that.
Oh yeah, I don't mess around with
worst thing
that.
ever you could ever do.
No.
So I'm getting him down, and as I'm getting him down, I'm asking questions. I put like cartoons on to kind of change the mood, and I'm just like sitting there and I'm looking at him, and I hear like creaking upstairs, and I'm like, I pick up the phone, I call my cousin, I'm like, how far are you? Because we're gonna go outside. I'm gonna go in my car, and we'll just stay in there. And I'm like, I cannot believe like this is happening a second time. I mean, and this is like. This has happened 4 times. So like 2 of the other times after have been worse. I mean, I've told Lucy prior to coming on the show, I've told her this one, like a creepy one. But we start walking out to the front, and I'm like, I close the door behind us, and he's like, where are we going? He's like,
far away from here.
Yeah, and I'm getting in the car. I'm like, we're gonna go in the car. We're gonna listen to some music, and we're just gonna wait till mommy comes back. Mommy and daddy come back. And he's like, but why? He's like, he's really friendly, and I'm like, oh fuck. And I get creeped out. Like I'm just sitting there, like, okay, Jordan. I'm like, I know he may be friendly, but you shouldn't be seeing those kind of things at this age. And I'm trying to like rationalize this. I'm like, maybe toughen up, Steve. I'm so sure. Maybe. Like again, this is the second time this has happened. The first one was just a small little incident. This is a little more in depth, right? I'm just like alone by myself, taking care of him.
Gosh.
And I'm looking up at what because it like his room faced right.
I would
so
not
would
have had freaking look.
And then their room was like towards the back, so it was like a front room, stairs, walking this way. His room's in the front, their room's in the back. And then they have a spare room to the left. So his room is there with the window, and I had the lights on. So I'm looking like up into where like we're parked in the driveway, and I'm seeing something like walking back and forth. And my cousin finally comes in, and I'm like, hey, I don't think I'm gonna stay the night tonight. And I'm like, I did that one time. Once is enough. I mean, shame on me. I mean, I've stayed at her place in those like 4 occurrences.
Absolutely
just
not.
willingly, like, okay, fine.
No,
but so she comes pulling in, and I'm like, dude, this house is haunted. And I was like, the first one that you went to is haunted. What happens next? I'm like, because I was like, I don't think I could take this. I was like, he said he had a conversation with a friend. He didn't tell me the person's name. Didn't say anything. I was like, he was actually in trance. We're saying, I was like, I was shaking. I'm not shaking him, but I was like, hey, Jordan. I was like, by the 3rd time he like snapped out of it. Then he tells me he was talking to a friend. I was like, Roseanne, I took him downstairs. We're watching TV, and I can hear like just creaking above walking. I'm like, that was enough for me to just go outside and just wait in the car. I'm like, but I'm like, this is not a like the vibe for me. I'm like, I'm not staying the night. And she's like, oh, come on, don't be such a sissy. I'm like,
oh man,
oh my god. I mean, she's scared too. She's scared too, but she just like jokes with me and kind of cohorts me into being like, we're together, fine, as long as we're a family.
Dude, it's so weird when like kids tell you that stuff. Like when that kid was telling me about like the doctor and all that stuff, and I'm just like, go away.
Did he ever say the name of the kid?
I'm sorry?
Did he ever say the name of the other kid?
Oh,
No,
the other person.
no,
I
and I
think.
don't think it was a kid because it was taller than, like than where the window
The
was at.
shadow, like you
Yeah,
were
the shadow.
Mm,
So I
Oh,
was like, okay.
oh.
I mean, we always sage like she always sages her place because her brother's really spiritual. She didn't talk to him
Yeah.
anymore either, and a lot more other stuff has happened to him. But like since like then, there's been like instances where I've experienced stuff too, just on my own. Like I
Oh,
can like walk in a house and just totally feel like the energy
the
and be
vibe,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, like
It's kind of the
it's
same.
Yeah,
very like
I'm like that too.
it's yeah, like it's an
Yeah.
overbearing like anxiety filled experience
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you
So
just feel it.
yeah, that's what I was telling you guys earlier. I don't remember if we were recording or not yet, but like I feel that, and at
Yeah,
first, like you know, when I first started doing this, and it was like during the pandemic, when I met the YouTube, and then I started getting like more scared, and I started feeling like more things and seeing things, like more shadows and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe I'm just scaring myself listening and watching all these stuff, and like I like watching like not the Ghost Adventures, but kind of like Ghost Adventures. Uh, and
dude, it's okay. My bad, dude.
don't be scared,
Yeah, don't be scared.
mhm.
I'm already scared. My hair, my arm hair is coming.
I'm sweating. My palms are sweating.
Mine are too. And I had it like, and then I was like, I'm like, it's just in my head. Like, I had to sleep with the bathroom light on and things like that. But then I started watching Angela Johnson, the comedian. She started having a show too. I almost at this like a little bit after I started. It was almost about the same thing, but obviously she knows more people, and she was having a medium over and having other people like telling ghost stories and things like that. And she said that she had to stop too because almost the same thing that it was happening to me was happening to her too. And on one of her shows, you could see oh yeah, my palms are sweaty too, dude. I'm with you.
I think I need to change my shirt.
Yes, yes.
It's Eminem lyrics.
And on one of her shows, you can see she had something in the back. I can't remember, and you can see it starts to move. She doesn't notice it and nothing, and then she has a microphone, and says, as a listener, you can hear something.
Ooh.
And then in another show that I was like, what the heck? Then like, I think another medium or something, or somebody else was watching it and reach out to her, and they started telling her, they're like, we start hearing, and then she goes back to hear like from that show, and then everything, and it was just like, dude, what the hell? I was freaking out more because I was like, that's what she's experiencing. I'm experiencing too. Like feeling scared and more anxious and everything. And I was just like, I need to stop. So that's why
Is
I
it
was
because like the more you feed it, the more
yes, yeah,
open you are to
you
or
kind of
you're more susceptible.
yeah, you kind of inviting some of that energy in, like, but then I think it depends. That's why I'm like, I'm only gonna do this for like only 5 shows, once a week. Then I'll stop again, and that's what I've been doing, and I've been okay, because I do feel like that energy's in. I guess it's kind of now I'm gonna take over my turn, right?
Ooh,
Like since I was little, like wherever we lived, they always have followed my mom. They have like it's my mom because when after I moved out, things like that wouldn't really happen. And I have been locked in places, and like we think the door got jammed or something, you try to find the logic, on things why it happens, oh, it just got jammed or something, like the remotes, they just moved out of nowhere. You're like, oh, maybe I moved it, things like that it has happened, and you don't really think twice, till later, and you're like, oh, okay. But this kind of what was it last year or 2 years ago when I was doing the shows, I was FaceTiming my mom, and I have showed this picture before.
Oh my god,
And
yes.
you've seen it, Steve.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
need to
holy
find
shit.
it.
Oh
Swear
I
no.
to God.
FaceTime my mom, And she wears glasses. Josh. But she wears glasses. And I was FaceTiming, and it's the house that she lives right now. And she knows, like, if I do not like going to her house. I get scared going to her house. I do not like going in her bathroom or her room because I just get scared. I know. And she has told me very different stories of that has happened in her house. And I'm FaceTiming her, and I could see like the reflection that somebody's standing by her bathroom, because that's the only light that she has on, and it's like facing her, kind of like right now that the only light is my computer and it's facing her. And then I could see, I'm like, and I asked her, "Who's there, Ma? Who's standing right there by the door?" She's like, "Nobody." I'm like, "Why are you telling me nobody? I see somebody. They're right there." Like, she's like, "There's nobody." I'm like, "Mom," I'm like, "Who are you hiding? Like, what the hell?"
The statue, imagine.
What kind of party you having?
Yeah, like, "Lucy, there's nobody." And I'm like, "Mom," and I screenshot the
my God.
I screenshot, and I could see like the silhouette of somebody standing by the door frame, and she switches, like she turns the phone. I'm like, "There's nobody." And she's all getting annoyed. "There's nobody there. Like, there's nobody. What are you talking about?" And I send it to her, and she's like, "Oh," she's just like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know." "There's nobody there. That's just creepy." But no, she's like, "It's the ghost," But she's very casual about those things that they happen. So she gets a little scared, but then she's like, whatever. And she's fine with that. So now where she works, she's been telling me that there's somebody there. She works at Subway, and they have a drive-through. She's a manager at Subway. And the person, again, you try to justify things, that they hear things, people, and like going on the drive-through, and they're talking, but they can't understand what they're saying. And they're like, "Oh, come up to the window," and then they're waiting, and there's nobody. They see, and they're like, "Oh, probably somebody was messing with us." That's the things that they try to justify. And then she says that she saw an older man. And she was like, "Oh," that she was in back, and she's like, I'll be right with you." And then she'll go back. And then the other girls that they'll pass by, and they're like, "Who are you talking to? There's nobody there." She's like, "Yeah, there was a man there. Like, he was waiting. I saw him." Like, no, that's one thing. And just last week, she said she was with a customer, and she was making her sandwich and whatever. And she sees, like, she said she was looking down, and the customer, they're both looking down at, the sandwich, and they see somebody kind of go towards the back. They see, like, when you see somebody passing by from the corner. Yeah. And then my mom tells the girl who's in the back, "Hey, tell Hector," which she thinks is the manager, like, "Oh, then I need to, whatever, it's Hector back there, whatever." And the girl's like, she's like, "Nobody's here. What are you talking about?" She's like, "He just walked in. Like, I saw him." She's like, "Nobody walked in." And then my mom asked the customer, "You saw somebody walked in, right?" And the customer's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "No, nobody's walked in." My mom goes in, and she's like, "What the hell?" She's like, "We saw somebody." And the customer's like, "Oh my God, stop. I'm getting scared." The customer's
So I'll take that. Go.
So, my mom is telling me that, like, this was just on Monday. Like, we went to have breakfast. My mom's telling me about this. And we're right by and we were having breakfast right by her work. And then I drop her off on Monday, like, after breakfast, and then I come home, and then she sends me the messages, and some text messages that the girl who was working that morning, that the girl asked her, "Hey, it's true that we have a spirit here, right?" She's like, "Yeah, why?" And then she's like, "Well, a medium came in, and she said that we have somebody here for sure." She's like, she just went in to buy a sandwich, and she's like, yeah, she said that, that we do have somebody
like, by
here.
the way.
Yeah, and she was like, "Do you guys have this?" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, some things have happened." And she's like, "Well, it's the sister of somebody who passed away." And then she's like, huh? She's like, well, I don't know. She's like, did somebody's sister passed away or something? She's like, I don't know. She's like, but I know that the manager, like wherever she lives, they're always following her, you know. She's like, well, maybe it's her sister, you know, she passed away. She's like, no, I don't know. And well, my mom's sister passed away about 9 to 8 years ago. But the employees don't know that. And my mom never really talks about it. So she was like, yeah, so I'm just kidding. Like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that is so crazy. I can't believe that, you know, like they're telling you this, you know, while my mom's not even there. She's like, oh, okay. So she's like, tell her to call me, you know, like, and I'm like telling my mom, I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, that is so crazy. They're following you to your work too. Like, wherever you live, like, you know, there's always something going on. And now your work that it has not happened before, that is like where she works. And now, you know, a medium had told her like, oh, you know, tell her to call me, which I honestly don't think is my aunt, because it's been happening since we were young, like since way before that. Maybe it could be my grandma, who passed away when my mom was very young and my grandma was young. She was in her 40s when my grandma passed away. So I'm like, maybe it could be her, but who knows?
Yeah.
Does your mom want to talk to the medium?
She does, but I feel like she's kind of, I don't know, because she hasn't called her yet. And this was happened kind of like on Monday, and she hasn't called her. And I'm like, Mom, call her. I want to know.
This is current.
So it just happened this week.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
It just happened this week. And I was like, yeah, so she has not called. She said she was going to call her today, but I'm like, like,
yeah, my mom actually spoke to a medium too, because she has actually a similar story where she's experienced stuff since she was a kid as well, and it seems to be following her potentially as well. And it's like, it's definitely stronger with her. I feel like I can sense things, like you were saying, Steve.
Yeah,
I can definitely sense stuff like that, but I feel like I have a good like method at this point where it's just like, yeah, it's scary, but try to ignore it, or else it's just gonna keep following you, and you're not gonna be able to live your life. Yeah.
That's and this is what Glitter and Dr. You need to come through, dude, the next time. You know, like he leaves them alone. You know, there are spirits that come through my house all the time, but they don't stay. Some are friendly and others are not. I always ask them to leave. They always do. But you know, I feel sometimes I remember hearing that some houses, depends where they are, that it's the kind of like it's a walk through, you know, like corners, or depends where they at. Yeah. But yeah, there's another one where we lived before. It was kind of like one of the reasons that I kind of moved in with my husband now, that I was kind of running away. Because this house was so haunted, and this one was not. Like, usually, like, you know, we can kind of like live through it. This one I could not stay. I remember when we moved in, I had asked him to stay because I was so scared. I will wake him up in the middle of the night if I have to go pee, so he can walk me to the bathroom. And it was like right outside my door, like, because I was so scared. There's some that you could feel, you know, that.
Well, isn't it weird too? Like, if you think about it, you know, because there are moments where I'm just like, am I just imagining this? Like, what's going on? But then it's like, how come in a certain place, like my old house, for instance, like I felt all the stuff of like experiencing things. And then the places I've lived in since, I've not experienced nearly like anything remotely like that. So it's like, I don't understand. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's just crazy.
Oh man, hey man, look through your TV screen and make sure nothing's behind you. I know when Lucy sent me that picture and I saw her mother's glasses and I saw what was on the other side, I was like, oh my God, Lucy, I was like, I just got the freaking chills.
Sure I still have it. I have to look for it because I saved, because I was like, dude, that is like
Yeah, that was
Have you
freaky.
guys
I
ever
remember.
seen like the orbs or whatever in the videos and stuff?
I had. Oh, I found it.
Other
Oh shoot!
Oh
Here
my
we go.
gosh.
yeah. Where is it?
That's her glasses right there. That's a
Yeah,
shadow.
and that's the shadow.
Oh
That's the
heck
shadow.
no!
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Ooh.
You're gonna have to send it to me later.
Oh my god! I just got the chills.
Ew.
I
Oh my
remember that.
gosh.
Let me see.
Yeah, get up. Yeah, get that. Look at that. There.
That's like, my mom's nose. That's like the shadow right there.
Oh my
Oh,
What
goodness!
the heck?
And
Oh
I
my
kept telling my
god.
mom, like, dude, like, what is that? Like,
Lucy's like, who is that?
yeah. Lucy, where you're at, there's a lot of there is a lot of paranormal activity where you're at for sure.
yeah, and you know what? Like, there's so much. I will talk about it next time because
Oh yeah.
I just feel like I think it's the land out here because I don't know who knows. But yeah, so to kind of we all told our little experiences and the people that we know and stuff like that, which I love this stuff. And yeah, like everybody said, I'm gonna go watch like some Blue's Clues or something.
Me too. Me too. I'm gonna go watch some Coco Melon.
Yeah.
Let's go play Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, in the dark.
Dude. So like I asked them, like, send me like some of like recommendations like for this spooky time. And first was Heather. So Heather, tell me, like, you watched this already?
Yes, so I watched this one. It's a horror movie. It's basically like horror and a little bit of supernatural. So The Grabber, this actually came out I think last year, 2022. And basically it's set in the 1970s. And the man that you see here on the screen, he's called the Grabber. So basically he's a child killer that like snatches like the teen boys from like the town and stuff like that, like literally in broad daylight. And he ended up snatching one of these like little boys, taking him to like the basement and doing like all the stuff that he would do to like the other victims like before him. And so then the supernatural part of it is all the victims that he would do this stuff to, there was like a black phone in the basement, and they would call like the current victim, which was like Finn, I think that was his name. And they would tell him like, oh, your next step should be like start digging a hole and start breaking this wall and do this stuff. Like they were like trying to help him to like escape like where he was at. And then what's crazy is that his sister would get like these dreams, and like she would be able to see like kind of like how the killer looked and like where he was kind of like keeping them, but she wasn't able to do it like on cue, like let me see it right now, and then finally she was able to find like the place where he was keeping like the boys. So she called the detectives and they went over there and they were like searching. And while that was going on, the little boy like ended up like, like smashing the killer, like getting away and stuff like that. And then the detectives found nothing in the house. And so then I was like, oh my God, I'm like, the little boy died, And then to find out that in the house that they were at, that's where he would store like the kids' bodies in. And across the street is where he would like torture them. And so the little boy was able to like escape. And so they like just basically ended up like fighting each other. Like he was able to survive.
I don't know if I could watch things like that, like when it comes to teenagers, kids, and it happens. I can.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have kids.
Yeah,
this great movie.
Yeah, it was so good. It was such a good slasher. It got like 83% on like Rotten Tomatoes and like 98 for audience. Yeah, this book was actually from Stephen King's son. I think his name is like
Joe Hill.
Yeah.
Joe Hill. Yeah, Joe Hill's really. Oh yeah, sorry. I remember. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, such a great movie.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, sorry. We should have said spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Hey, it's been
I
out
guess
for a
I won't
year.
watch that.
I'm sorry. I'll say that next time. Spoiler.
And it's available on Hulu, right? I think it was available on Hulu.
I don't know. I don't have Hulu, but I know that you can watch it on Prime Video.
Okay, I think I
Yeah,
remember seeing
Prime.
it. It's a Prime for sure. Before I think I seen it and it was available. Never mind. They must have taken it down, but I think it was for a while. Yeah, this one that came out a little bit ago. So I guess some if next one if it's spoiler, let us know. Okay, this one it was Steve or JoJo. Steve. Okay.
Yeah, this one recently.
This one it is on Hulu because I did see it on Hulu. Okay.
Yeah, no one will save you. This one's good. It's like a thriller, a psychological thriller. It's basically about this girl in a town that she's kind of like exiled, but their town has an invasion, and they're taking people in the evening, at night. And she must be a cat and have 9 lives because she wakes up in like her parents' bed or like her bed in another area that they have another home.
Yeah.
And she like you think that she's already been taken, so that's like the psychological part of it. And come to find she does evade like these aliens that are coming in to.
Wait, is this spoiler too?
Oh yeah. Probably spoiler, right? Probably spoiler, right? Okay, so I'll go as far as that. So, yeah,
Cliffhanger.
yeah, very, yeah. Yeah. H&H is on.
Wait, when did this come out? When did this come out?
It just recently. I have it on right now.
Like this year?
We speak. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's on Hulu.
Spoiler.
Yeah, right. Don't spoil it already. But it's so super good. I highly recommend taking a look.
Well, you can kind of tell like the way is like up, like, and it's like it looks like some kind of alien thing.
Yeah,
so
it looks like aliens.
It's one of those things that just keep you thinking. It's super good. I feel like the way they depicted the aliens and the way they looked, certain things that they did, the way they hunted her down, because I mean it was more than once.
Wow.
Very psychological. Very also, I mean, aside from paranormal, it's weird that you could think like if there's alien life and you get abducted, how would that feel like? I mean, there's been stories over in Canada. I hear Canada's a place in Canada is an area where people have got abducted. So supposedly in their stories, also in New Jersey.
We gotta
very
talk
interesting
about that stuff too, Nick. Like maybe in the third show we'll talk about alien stuff. Josh, we gotta.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
My favorite alien is of Mork and Mindy. That's my favorite alien.
Nanu.
Yeah.
Jojo, you had sent me one and I forgot to add it. What was?
Oh yeah, no worries. Mine's a throwback. It's actually a show that you can check out on YouTube. Somebody uploaded I think at least one season. Oh no, it's all episodes. I have it right here. But it's called Fear. I don't know if any of you guys used to watch that.
Yeah, look at I added the picture to my phone, but I forgot to
Hyper.
Yeah. So Fear was cool because it was like a contest, kind of. You know how they used to have like Real World, and all those shows.
Oh yeah,
Fear Factory.
Like, oh wait,
yeah. It's kind of like that, but the challenge was that they always had to stay in a haunted place, right? And so they would go to like old penitentiaries, like abandoned places, hospitals. They went to a cement factory and just like just random places like that all throughout the country. And I remember watching it. I saw like an episode earlier today and I was cracking up though because it's fun, but it's also hilarious just to see like the technology they're using and stuff from the early 2000s, and it's like kind of ridiculous, but it makes it even more fun to watch. So yeah, I recommend just going down memory lane and checking that out because it's
check it out.
Is it like a reality? Or is it like scripted?
It's somewhat reality. I'm sure they scripted some stuff here and there, but I think the scares are legit because it's in the middle of the night and they're like really there. And I was doing a little research and they were saying that like the crew, like I think there was only like 1 or 2 people with them out there. So yeah, I could see how that could be a little scary, like in the middle of the night. Not a little, a lot of scary.
There's like 1 or 2 of you.
Yeah. And yeah,
I need about 12 people to rely on.
Right.
Well, you got this because I don't.
Oh my god!
But it's a fun show. It's a fun show.
And Josh, do you have any recommendations or?
Yeah. So I think the last scary movie I watched was The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe.
It's on Netflix.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. Has anyone seen that? I don't want to spoil anything. So
don't feel free.
Scare the shit out of me.
So without trying to spoil it, it's Russell Crowe plays the Pope's exorcist. And it's about him fighting, trying to exorcise a demon out of a child, and there's a lot of twists and turns that you wouldn't normally see coming, and I feel like it was really well done because it opens up into like this big like forgotten conspiracy with the Catholic Church and stuff like that. So it was actually a really good movie. I enjoyed it.
Wow. I did see some previews and stuff like that for it, and I do want to watch it during the day.
Yeah, I was curious about it too.
Yeah, it's
during
good.
the day with the lights on.
And if you have Netflix, it's on there. Just
okay.
Netflix,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they don't want Netflix.
Check it out at 3:30.
Yeah, and you know, Sarah had added this ones, the Frighteners, and I had it ready. Right before we started the show, I started watching it, and it's with
Christian Slater, right?
No. Back to the Future, Marty McFly.
Michael J. Fox.
Yes, Michael J. Fox. Yes, and it starts like the way it starts is very cheesy, very like the way the production, like it's just like it looks very like it was my first time watching it. Like I have never watched it. I always wanted to. I keep forgetting about it, and I added it to my list a while ago. It's on Peacock, and then Sarah added it, and I was like, oh, yes. I'm like, I've been meaning to watch it. So I'm like, I'm going to watch it before we start the show. And it starts very cheesy, very weird, but it just got better and better. It was really good. And usually, like, when I watch movies like that, and it's just like, which one was it that I was just like, that everybody loves it? The guy with the needles.
Oh, Pinhead, Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. Everybody loves that movie, and I watched it, and I was like, what the hell am I watching? This is like the worst movie I ever watched in my life. It was so
really
bad.
The second one, dude, watch the second one's way better.
Okay, I watched it, and I was just like, what's happening?
I feel like that's how all older horror movies are, but
like
you just have to appreciate for the time what they did and how they paved the way. Because like I went back and I started watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. Terrible. I watched the first 2 and I was like, these were the stupidest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. But like,
so low budget.
But you have to, then it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I have, you gotta appreciate it. And
I'm so picky though, I guess, with some of my my horror movies, because I watched The Nun for the first time too a few months back, and I was like, why do people like this movie? I didn't like horrible.
That one. Yeah,
it was like
scares. I agree.
Not even jump scares. Not even. I was just like. And then for the actor, what's his name, to be like, he's such a good actor for him. I was just like, like, get out of here with that. Like, I hated it. But yeah, no, I was just like, but this one, I was just surprised. Like you said, for the time, Josh, like this one was like, because the other one, the Hellraiser, came out in the 80s, I think. And this Fridays is also like around the 80s, and it doesn't feel so much like the 80s, like, but it was so good. I really liked it. I was really surprised. But yeah, that was Sarah's pick. My pick, we're gonna end like we'll Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah, let's lighten the mood, guys. You know,
Right.
watch this instead of any of the horror, guys. Don't watch The Exorcist ever.
My son last night, he was watching a little clip on YouTube with Mavis. It's little, like, if you have not watched this, it's Adam Sandler, Andy Samberg, Selena Gomez. Well, you can see everybody, Kevin James, like, you know, all the crew, like with Adam Sandler, like, and it's such a good family movie. This one, the number one is one of my favorites because they have other ones, and number two is still kind of good, but number one is just so good. For me, I feel now it's like it should be, it's a classic, you know, something that I watch every year. I want to watch every year with my family, and it's just funny, and it just, you know, if you haven't watched it, like Dracula, he is so into the old days that humans are horrible and they hate monsters and they're out to get rid of monsters, and he's trying to keep his daughter Mavis, which is played by Selena Gomez, to keep her safe from humans, which, like every parent, we're trying to shelter our kids from bad people. But again, it's such a good movie. It's available on Hulu. I think I watched it. Is it on Hulu or HBO? I think it was Hulu. It was Hulu. Yeah. So I recommend this one. It is, you know, monsters, but it's family friendly. And yeah, Hellraiser 87. Oh, my year.
Yeah, perfect year. That was my birth year.
Yay. Our
Mine too.
Yeah.
What?
Party.
You guys are all young.
Oh, Heather's way younger. Don't even say anything, Heather.
Damn, dude.
I was gonna say
I'm the old fart in the bunch. Girl, no wonder you've seen so many scary things. You've been around long enough, old timer.
Dude, you said I changed my killer, but she has scare pranks, scare tactics. Yeah.
I remember scare tactics.
Yes, scare tactics. Oh my god. But yeah, so this is, you know, oh wait, what am I doing? I'm like I forgot how to move buttons for a second. And so this was our first little show, something light. Yeah, right.
Yeah, wait until we get later in the weeks as we tell more horrifying tales.
Seriously, we're not gonna be able to sleep. I'm gonna be like this next time.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna be sleeping like this.
Dude, I live alone, guys. This is not
the worst.
Lights on.
Yeah.
Light all the lights on.
I'm gonna go out after this.
I'm gonna leave the ring light on.
I come in at a reasonable time, because if it's like late at night, I'm gonna be like,
oh yeah, the witching hour. Don't be out at the witching hour.
Oh,
I need to make a little intro. I don't know how to make that. Steve, you're gonna have to help me make a little intro for our witching hour show.
We should all try to dance like Thriller, you know. Everybody get your dance things right, okay?
Go see, which one is it?
Frailty. Frailty. Yeah, Frailty. I think, is that John Carpenter, the most recent one that just came out, or is it something older? I think it's.
It's an older one.
Yeah.
You know, I always wonder this. Okay, you know, when you buy things, I know I was like gonna end, but then I just thought about this. You know, when you buy stuff like thrift stores and stuff like that, it says like they come attached, you know, to things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, how about comics? Like somebody who's like, you know,
maybe it's like a kid like grew up during the time of comics, a heyday, and it's one of the like most best keys that they read, and because you have it and you're gonna press it and clean it and submit it to CGC, they ain't having it.
Oh no, got a 9.6.
Yeah, like, how dare you mess with my comic? You're over there like at night pressing in your garage, and then you see just something scut back.
Okay, so he said Matthew McConaughey on this one. I need to. I need to look for it. I have not seen it. Well, again, thank you so much, everyone. You guys, thank you for joining me in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. Oh wait, what? I missed this. Sorry.
Yeah, Tales from the Hood.
Oh, Tales from the Hood was a good one, man.
Yeah.
Tales from the Hood.
Is that a movie?
That's a good one.
Or is
it used
that
to be on
TV show?
HBO, but it's good. It's the guy from Half Baked, the drug lord.
I'm gonna need to look
Green,
for
that's gonna
it.
miss not green. That's gonna and then
it was like episodes, right?
They were in. It's like an anthology. It was an anthology of movies.
There was one that
pretty good.
Me and Sam were watching, and it was kind of like Ghost Adventures, but it was like in the ghetto, like or something like that in LA. It was fun. I need to look for it. It was funny, but you could tell like they were kind of messing around. They're like, "What's up, homie?" Like,
was it? Didn't one of the Leprechaun movies take place in like
somewhere?
Like, yeah,
Leprechaun in the Hood. That was when you were just like, enough, man, enough. We can only see you so many places, and then the hood ain't in.
Oh my god. Well, again, thank you guys. We'll be back next Friday, and hopefully Josh, you and Georgia, you guys can be able to join us again, and for the next of the shows, and I hopefully Kelly and Ruben will be able to join us too. I know Ruben has really good stories, and Kelly so we'll be back next Friday, and well, we have also did we added? I don't know if I added. What's today? Friday. Tomorrow. What's the name of? I keep getting the name of the shows wrong, Steve.
Oh, Saturday Morning Toy Box at 7:00 tomorrow, Pacific Standard Time. So we're going in early, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on your guys' end. So technically, it is in the morning.
Yes.
So we'll be going in early tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like trying to remember the name of the shows. I'm the worst. I'm like writing them wrong, and like I'm telling me that. Can you change up? Like, what do you mean?
They're gonna search on the wrong thing.
Yeah, they're like,
dude, I can't even remember the name of my own shows sometimes.
I know. No, yeah. So yeah, Saturday Morning Toy Box, and then coming back on Monday with I was saying Comic Lovers, and it's Cover Lovers. See? And then Comic Book Woman. You see, I can't even talk. Comic Book Woman on Tuesday. And Wednesday, you guys have shows and movies, right?
Movies and shows we're gonna finish up Ahsoka, episode 8. I mean, it happened so quick, and and that's spoiler alert. I don't know why, but for some reason they want to talk conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. Because we enjoy the show, so we got to live through it. So.
And then on Thursday, Josh, you're back with the guys on Long Story Short. Yeah, I said it right? Long story short.
Yep.
Mostly books.
The worst, dude. And then we'll be back again on Friday. So again, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.